Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan Sanchez, and we're back at it again with another episode of Father Friday. I'd like to welcome all parents to the Parent Life Skills Academy. Now, in this episode, I'm going to be discussing about taking ownership, taking accountability when we are making mistakes with our children. You know, us as parents, we make mistakes, and sometimes we don't like to take ownership. You know, we have to be honest with ourselves. Are you the type of parent that takes ownership in your mistakes? Or are you the type of parent that does not see any mistake at all and you know that you're right all the time? You know, we have to think about our ownership. We have to think about our accountability. Sometimes it's hard for us when we just came off from yelling at them or raising our voice. We might have said something that we regretted. These things are going to happen as parents, and I want to make sure that you understand, there is no perfect dad, there is no perfect mom, there is no perfection in this world. There is you as a human being living in this world, and you just are imperfect. You're just going to make mistakes as you go along with your parenting life journey. For parents, it could be very hard when you are dealing with a lot of stress, when you are overwhelmed, when you are taking a lot of leadership roles, you're taking a whole lot of responsibilities. It could be a lot for a parent. So what happens when you yelled at your kid? What happens when you were too hard on him or you were too hard on your daughter? What happens when you raised your voice and you got to the yellow zone and you are now going into almost a red zone? What do you do afterwards? Obviously your children are going to feel a certain type of way about you, and they may tell you like, I hate my dad, or I don't like to be with my father, I don't like to be with my mother, I hate my mother. So how do you bounce back from that, right? So what do you do then? Do you just move on? Do you just continue life? How can you come back and rebuilding your bond with your kid? How can you rebuild your relationship with your child that very same night or that very same day? How can you have closure with your child? So I'll give you 3 tips which you can do today with your kid that can help you improve your parenting life skills. So number one of the first things that I do is I always try to find a place to calm down. I give myself some space and I tell myself I need a break. This is getting out of hand and I need to make sure that I'm being conscious about my actions, about what I'm going to say next. And it's very important for myself to take a breather and to just give myself at least 5 minutes of my time of just me and myself and I. You give yourself enough time so that way you're able to just relax, you're able to calm down, and then you can just take the next step. Calming down could mean that you go around the block, or you go out to the backyard, or you go to your personal space, wherever that may be. It could be the car, it could be your bedroom, it could be your office, where it could be someplace. But you need to find a place where you can calm down. You need to just relax and just make the tension a lot more calmer. Just make yourself at ease. So after you have calmed down and you're less tense, now you can do some reflection. I would take some time and reflect on what just happened. Take some deep thinking about what just happened and really reflect on yourself. Ask yourself questions. Could I have done better? Could I have made it work? What could I have done to make things better? How could I respond better to my child? Maybe if I would have said this, or how I said it could have been better, the way how I reacted. There is some deep thinking that you may want to do before you go to the next step. After you have done some reflection, this is the part where I think most people have a hard time with. And that's taking ownership, taking accountability of your actions. This part is not easy. In this particular step, you need to make sure that you need to take accountability of your actions. You must take ownership of your actions, about what you said, what came out from your mouth. And it's very hard for people to do that in general. And for parents, it could be a lot harder because obviously taking ownership for what your mistakes were to a kid, to a child, could be very challenging. Why? Because a lot of times we have our egos. We feel that because we're older, we're more mature than our child, that we don't need to take ownership, that we don't need to take accountability. And that's just not true. We always need to make sure that we are taking accountability in general in our lives. And that means also with our kids. Just because our children are young and they could be acting more immature and they have a lot more to learn and grow, it doesn't make it fair for them just to accept the fact that, mom and dad made a mistake and that's okay. We as parents, we have a job to do, and our job is to make sure that we role model, that we model for our children how we can handle certain situations even when we make mistakes, when we make errors. We must own up to our mistakes. We have to make sure that we do that, because then all of a sudden, if we're not owning up to anything, then we're just showing our kids that it's okay to do whatever it is that we want to do. And that's just not the truth. That's just not being honest. We must be honest with one another. So taking accountability for your actions is very important. I know it's hard, but you have to do it. You have to do it for your kids, because when they get older, they will know how to take ownership and accountability for their own actions. And lastly, of course, having closure. Once you have done these 3 steps, you are going to want to have a conversation with your child. And this may mean just having a family meeting and having a conversation with your son or daughter and just being real, being honest with them and saying, hey, you know what? I like to express a little bit, and I like to just share what happened earlier or yesterday or the day of. And I like to just say, I'm sorry. This is what happened, and I apologize for it. And you also can take the opportunity to ask everyone how they felt about it, how they can share about it, and how they, can express about it as well. And you can listen to them and just hear them out. And, to do that as a father and as a mother, you're able to show your kids, this is how we handle situations like this. This is how we can overcome these situations. And this is how we handle problems at home. These problems sometimes are going to happen. These issues are going to happen. And it's so important for us as a family that we deal with it, especially in the moment, or especially right away in the very same day or the day after. And once you do this, you're now having closure with your loved ones, your spouse, your, daughter, your son, your husband, whoever it may be. And this doesn't just apply to families, it applies to everyone. As adults, we need to take ownership for our actions, whether it's in our jobs or whether it's with an encounter that we may have with a stranger at a store or at a different park or at a park or somewhere. Doing the closure is going to help you be more transparent and honest with your children and your family. It's so important to do this because this will show how they're able to handle situations when they're a lot older. And so that's what I wanted to give you guys today. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, share it with everyone, share it with parents, share it with all your loved ones and your friends. Hit that like button, and I'll see you next week.